Next, in our series regarding the kingdom of the Antichrist as recorded by the prophet Daniel, we're going to see that Daniel once again receives from God a vision, and then God gives him the interpretation of the vision. This vision starts off with the ram that represents the kingdom of Media-Persia, and then a goat, which is represented by Alexander the Great and the kingdom of Greece. We're also going to see how this kingdom leads into the kingdom of the Antichrist. So we're seeing a pattern in Daniel. We find in Daniel 2 that there are 4 worldly kingdoms described. In Daniel chapter 7, another description, but the same 4 worldly kingdoms. Then in Daniel chapter 8, we're seeing a prophecy of the kingdom starting with Medo-Persia, then Greece, leading out of the Grecian Empire into the 4th beast kingdom of the Antichrist, which culminates in the coming kingdom of God on earth. Each of these prophecies, as we go through the prophecies of Daniel, provides more and more information about the Antichrist himself. In Daniel chapter 8, once again, Daniel receives a vision from God, and then God gives Daniel the interpretation of the vision so we understand what is being said. We're taught, first of all, the vision concerns the appointed time of the end. In other words, this vision is pointing to the time of the end and the development of this end-time kingdom that will arise, the kingdom of the Antichrist. But the vision is of a 2-horned ram that you saw, and he tells us in this particular interpretation that it represents Media-Persia. Media-Persia is actually stated in the prophecy. The shaggy goat is the king of Greece, and the large horn between its eyes is the first king. The first king is Alexander. So, Daniel is in Babylon receiving this vision about this ram and about this goat. And then he's told in the interpretation that this will lead into another kingdom at the end of the age, which will be the kingdom we see of the Antichrist. Next, Daniel is told that the 4 horns that replace the one that was broken off represent 4 kingdoms that will emerge from his kingdom, but will not have the same power. In other words, this is describing what happens when Alexander the Great died. His kingdom was broken up into 4 parts and parceled off to 4 generals. But none of the kingdoms of those generals had the same power as the empire of Greece under Alexander the Great. As we are told, when Alexander died, his kingdom was broken up. But out of one of those kingdoms will come a leader that we learn is the Antichrist. And this is the way it's described in the interpretation. When rebels have become completely wicked, a stern-faced king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause astounding devastation and succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy the mighty men and the holy people. When rebels have become completely wicked. Just an incredible interpretation and definition of terrorist of today. A stern-faced king, a master of intrigue, will arise. This is the Antichrist, but he will rise to power, not by his own power, in other words, with help, but he will cause astounding devastation and succeed at whatever he does. He will attack and destroy the mighty men. This would be the superpowers of the day, and the holy people, and this describes the great tribulation when he persecutes them to the death before the end of the age. Then we're told that the Antichrist will cause deceit to prosper, and he will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. This is a very interesting prophecy. He will consider himself superior. Well, if we've been studying these prophecies, we realize that he considers himself so superior that he goes into the temple of God and sets himself up and proclaims that he is God. When the people feel secure, he will destroy many. when they feel secure is when he sets up the abomination that causes desolation, which leads to the great tribulation, and he destroys many. And of course, he takes his stand against the Prince of Princes. He declares himself to be God. So far in Daniel chapter 8, we have learned about the ram that represents the kings of Media-Persia, and the goat that represents Alexander the Great, and the four horns that were broken off of the goat that represent the four kingdoms that grew out of Greece, the Grecian kingdom. And then we find that out of one of those four, the final kingdom that comes upon the earth, the kingdom of the Antichrist, rises to power. But like the other prophecies in Daniel, we're told, yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power. In other words, God will destroy the kingdom of the Antichrist when he returns to set up his kingdom on earth. So as we're beginning to see in Daniel chapter 2, we see the four kingdoms clearly described in their progression. Then we see in Daniel chapter 7 the four kings represented in a different way. And now we see in Daniel chapter 8 the last three of those kingdoms. All of these prophecies culminate in this final world kingdom of the Antichrist. And as we go through Daniel's prophecies, we will also see in the future prophecies that these prophecies depict more and more detail about the Antichrist himself and his kingdom, and less to do with the kingdoms of the past.